been online lately? Then you may have seen this photo, which quickly became a hot topic of discussion throughout all of social media. But as quick as it began, it ended with what seemed to be a quick debunk by some online sleuths, showing convincingly it is nothing more than a model using military figures manufactured decades ago. But the case overall may not be shut entirely, at least according to this man. Filmmaker Ron James, the one who flashed this photo recently on the Vetted podcast, concedes it may absolutely be explainable as the debunk presented. But for him, it is not case closed overall. Join me, John Greenewald Jr., as Ron steps into the vault to talk about his filmmaking, his investigations, and how it all led him to this photo and many others.
This is the collection of images so far that are part of this case.
Is it an easily explained hoax? Or does the context surrounding this one photo lead us all to a much bigger story? So stay tuned, because you're about to journey inside the Black Vault. That's right, everybody. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and taking this journey inside the Black Vault with me. Today, I'm excited about this because this is a hot topic on social media right now. We're bringing in Mr. Ron James. Now, he is the founder of MUFON TV and also the media relations director for MUFON. Ron, let me first thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me.
Happy to do it, John. I'm a big fan.
I appreciate that. And I'm excited to do this because you had called me last week about something that was actually kind of completely unrelated to what we're going to be talking about later. It kind of blew up days after you and I chatted. I saw a press release by MUFON about some stuff you guys are doing at the symposium. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, I want my audience to get to know you a little bit because this is the first time you've appeared on my channel. Like I said, you are the founder of MUFON TV, the media relations director for MUFON. Give the audience a little bit about your background. Who are you? Why do you do what you do? And how'd you come across being media relations director for MUFON?
Sure. So as a kid, I've always been fascinated by these topics: life after death, UFOs, nature, reality. When I started my own production company back in the 90s, I ended up moving to Sedona and creating a whole lot of custom DVD products about metaphysical topics. And that's where I met Steve Bassett. And Steve hired me to produce his X conference in Washington, D.C. in the early to mid 2000s, I think.
Did you do the first one?
I didn't do the first one. I did. My first one was 2008, maybe, or 2000.
I'm curious if we crossed paths back then.
I think we did, but it was, at that point in time, I was just this camera guy running behind the scenes, and my first X conference was like all these people that I'd seen, the Nick Pope and Stanton Friedman, guys that I hate to age them by saying I grew up with, but these were people that made big impressions on me when I was a kid and a fan of the topic. And here they are, and I'm talking to them all of a sudden. And it was at that conference that I realized that this is one of the most important questions facing humanity. And as I evolved what I wanted to dedicate my media career to, this was one of the topics that I decided to sink my teeth into. And since then, I've produced hundreds and hundreds of hours of finished content. A lot of people don't know this because other people seem content to take the credit, but I did the production for the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, which was a big event that Steve Bassett and I were involved in, and others, and hundreds of hours of content, documentaries, TV show episodes about the topic, and The Accidental Truth was my next major piece, but I also do episodic shows. So I may be the person who's produced the most hours of finished UFO content anywhere in the world ever. And I don't go out and toot my horn about that stuff. I just do the work and keep a low profile. And, it's all about the answers and the mystery. And so, I've been out there for a long time. I've done a lot of big things in my production career. I do music videos for like Guns N' Roses and Smashing Pumpkins and Earth, Wind and Fire. So I have this whole other life. But yeah, I'm dedicated to the topic from an early age, and really happy to be involved in it now because I do believe that it is one of, if not the most important question facing humanity. And what better way to spend your life than trying to unravel those kind of mysteries?
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I'm a big fan of the topic myself. It may come as a surprise to some, but did you get that passion sparked by an experience of your own, if I may ask, or is this something that you got sparked by hearing others like Stanton Friedman? That I miss that gentleman dearly. It was
I,
friends with
I
him for
really miss
decades,
that.
and yeah,
No,
the field needs
I
him
can
right now.
say
But
I'm not an experiencer. I maybe have seen things in the sky that can't be explained, but nothing that would make me like hang my hat on it. But the mystery of it all is intriguing to me. And the same thing with life after death, and the same thing with the nature of reality. Some of my future films are going to be addressing these topics. Mystery fascinates me, and so and I think that we're all here to do something if you believe in the whole spiritual beings having a human experience. I think that my job, so to speak, is to indifferently deliver this stuff to the world as best I can. And I feel like, maybe I've been deprived of experiences because if I was an experiencer to the degree of some that I know, it would really screw up my objectivity. And I wouldn't be able to look at this from all angles because I'd be influenced by my experiences beyond my ability to compensate for that. So that's why, have I ever been out in a field one night and seen a definitive craft that I can't explain? I wish, but I haven't.
me too. I wish I had one of those experiences to give me that final push over the hill of belief. But
But then I was
sadly,
talking to Travis Walton, who's my friend, and he's like, "No, you don't." Like all the people that come to him and say, "Gosh, I wish that would have happened to me." He's like, "No, you don't. Trust me." And
I've
so, we're probably better
I
off.
I've met Travis a couple times, and I don't know what to believe about the whole abduction phenomenon. This is a different show in itself, but I
Sure.
will say this: I know it's a controversial case. I know people kind of are on one side of the fence or the other on the extremes with him, especially because it was a Hollywood movie. But I will say, out of all the people that I've met as that have been an experiencer, he really. I don't want to say convinced me, but I was really intrigued, and I mean that in support of the fact that he had some experience, and I remember introducing him for the first time at a MUFON symposium actually, and being backstage with him, and I will say again, I was kind of floored because I didn't really know what to think or expect when I met him. But I will say I think that man truly went through something, and I don't know what it was, but he was one of the very few that I met that really did kind of convince me that there was a belief on his end that there was something there that he couldn't explain, and that's always stuck with me over the years. So again, don't know what to think about abductions, but that's a different show in itself. But he did
Sure.
definitely stick out to me. I
Well, I
want to
think
talk about.
science is getting closer and closer to proving that there's something to the experiencer phenomenon. And I think the genuine answer is far greater and far more profound than we're probably able to wrap our head around. But Travis's story has stood the test of time. And there's never been an upside to Travis being Travis in that arena. He lived a normal life. He's got kids. He's got grandkids. He retired from his job. He was able to buy a house. He did okay for himself compared to a lot of people that are experiencers. And I honestly believe, and he'll tell you that if he had to have not done this, he wouldn't have. So there's no upside to telling these stories to the public. There's no upside to coming out. There's no upside to saying, hey, here's a picture, let's investigate it, and getting lambasted. It's a very thankless field of work. And when things happen to you and you feel compelled to tell people about it, you're just jumping on a roller coaster that eventually has a broken rail and you're just going to go flying off into space. So there's no upside for the people that come out and try to make a difference.
I think it was your last film or one of the last was The Accidental Truth, right? Was that
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
give everybody a rundown of that, because I know you won quite a few awards for it. It was very well received. Give everybody a rundown, and how can they watch it if they want to take a look?
Sure. So Accidental Truth UFO Revelations came out in April of last year. It's narrated by Matthew Modine, who's Dr. Brenner on Stranger Things. He was Joker in Full Metal Jacket. He played Oddly Vanover Bush in Oppenheimer. So he was a great guy to be the narrator. It's an all-star cast of people that are involved in the situation. I got Dr. Michio Kaku to chime in on some science stuff. I got Gary Nolan is in there, Lou Elizondo's in there, Chris Mellon's in there. We got just a lot of all the famous people that you're used to seeing on TV. Nick Pope's in there, Richard Nolan's in there, and a few surprises. And yeah, we won 28 film festival awards for Accidental Truth, and it's still going strong. It's a very definitive movie that captured the snapshot in time and delivered new evidence going all the way back to Roswell, really. But yeah, we called it Accidental Truth because there's scenes in the movie where people let things slip that they didn't mean to say, and that happens 3 or 4 times, and that's where we got the idea for the title.
You're saying during your interviews they accidentally let things slip?
Yes, I did all the interviews in the film myself. There's a scene, well, except for the one with Robert Bigelow. I didn't do that one. George Knapp did. There's a scene in Accidental Truth where, just as an example, Lou Elizondo is saying, I said, well, have you ever thought about there being a multi-dimensional element to this phenomenon? And Lou says, well, we've looked at everything, and you can't dismiss anything. They could be coming from outer space. They could be coming from another time or another dimension. They could be coming from inside the earth. We just don't know. And I said, well, Lou, seems like the only thing that you're sure of is that there is a they. And he just went stone-faced and just looks at the camera and goes, good question. I can't answer that. And so you get those kind of moments in the film. It's really fun. And even though there's scenes of Christopher Mellon accidentally admitting there's crash debris teams, Gary Nolan kind of letting it slip that he has investigative materials that are from government that he didn't mean to say. They're all still talking to me, so I didn't make them all too mad.
Well, that's good.
And it's a fun film, and it's super informative.
And how can people watch that?
It's on Amazon. I think YouTube Movies just picked it up, if you can bear with the ads. Tubi has it, if you can bear with the ads. We just lowered the price on Amazon. It's like $2.99. It's on Apple TV. It's all the places that you'd look for it.
All the streaming. Okay, great.
Sure.
Awesome. And so now I want to kind of shift a little bit, because this was one of the things that I had posted about a week ago for those that follow me on social media. It was a press release from MUFON all about how UAP material has been analyzed by multiple labs in Russia and by MUFON itself. I'm going to pass it to you to kind of give the rundown to the story, but that was one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you. You ended up calling me, and then again, we'll get to the photo in a little bit that has caused kind of a ruckus. But I was most interested in this because just a very quick preface here. I had produced quite a few documentaries for like History Channel and Discovery, and we had touched on UAP material in the past. And I know that scientific tests are incredibly expensive, even with budgets, which are very minuscule, but budgets with like cable networks like History, it was very, very tough to get anything done. So this really caught my attention just simply because I've kind of entrenched myself in the past to some of this, and a lot of the science just becomes over my head in many ways, but I was really intrigued by it. So let me pass it to you. What is MUFON revealing and touching on at the upcoming symposium, and what was this press release all about?
Well, first off, it's our normal symposium, and what we're charging people to watch it, if they want to watch it live stream, is our normal pricing. So we're not hyping anything up. But Saturday night, we're going to be revealing 4 cases that are unusual, and one of them is a case from Russia where the guy had these materials appear in his life. It's kind of a strange story how it happened. He's a Russian businessman, but he went and had them analyzed in Russia, and they came back with 10% metal and 10% materials. They don't know what they are. It gets a little harder to analyze compounds when you get outside of what an scanning electron microscope can do, which is metal based. So they didn't know what the metal alloy was, and they didn't know what the other stuff was. So they sent some samples to us, and the MUFON labs, we have one, it's not a big elaborate lab. It's what you might call level 1 laboratory. We can do minor materials analysis. We could do DNA. We can do microscopy. So anyway, they analyzed it and they couldn't figure it out either. And so we're in the process of sending it to another lab where it's going to get the scanning electron microscope treatment. But we're going to reveal the results of wherever that investigation goes. And again, I want to make sure that I'm very clear. These are things that are being investigated. We have shared certain points of our investigation with people. And as new points come out, we'll share that too. And if any of the stories that we're working on right now, any of the cases end up being completely debunkable or partially debunkable, we will tell that too. It's still going to make a pretty compelling presentation. So yeah, we're doing 4 cases, the Russian materials, another case of what could possibly be evidence of panspermia. We don't know. They're egg-like things that do not match any known Earth biology as far as what they are. And then we have this case with the 1955 UFO, which, despite what people are saying about this particular image, this case itself is part of a tranche of a whole lot of different images and a whole lot of different information that all came from different sources and got compiled. So we haven't given up on the case yet, regardless of the conclusions about any particular images. And then we have Roswell, the gift that keeps on giving. Toby from from Roswell Daily Record, and Warren from KGRA, and myself and Toby's producer Maximo, we're doing a new mini-series, Roswell Breakthrough, marked by the sky. And we have new materials, new analysis, and new witnesses. So we're unveiling those 4 cases at the MUFON Symposium on Saturday night. And sorry to be so long-winded, but
no, it's a lot to unpack there. And I appreciate the detail.
And then, of course, we have Robert Salas giving the keynote. So the rest of the symposium is fantastic. And for people that sign up and get the live stream or go, they get access to that for a year, and they get MUFON television and just a lot of cool stuff. So it's going to be a fantastic presentation no matter what. Even if we have to get up there and say, well, we had 4 cases that were very compelling and they all turned out to be, unprovable. Well, we'll get up there. We'll say that because we're going to tell the truth, no matter what it is.
So let me, if I may, just kind of unpack that a little bit. And if I touch on something that maybe, you can't speak on yet, I totally understand, but I'm going to have to try and push you as far as I can on it.
You can do that.
And the first one is this piece. Now, before I get into the scientific analysis and ask you a question about the alloy, is there anything that you can tell me of where this piece actually came from?
We're noticing a pattern, and it's pretty far-fetched, to be honest with you, but it's happening more and more. People that say they are experiencers are having stuff appear in their lives. It's almost like part of this phenomenon is now to pass physical materials to people. And I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but we've had an uptick in cases that have this pattern. And this guy from Russia is an experiencer. He's also a whatever you want to think about that. He's also a business person, and these materials were appearing like on his table in his house, and he was throwing them away. And then it started nagging him because they kept appearing. And so he was like, well, maybe I should get these tested. So he went and got them tested, and they came back extremely anomalous. And it's kind of a cross between the what he's feeling psychically and what the results of his initial tests on the materials were that led him to believe that they're significant. So that's when he contacted us, and that's when we did some more tests, and that's where we're at in the investigation. But there's more than one person that has come to us with stuff, actual physical material, saying these appeared in my world and they nagged me until I went and started getting some tests done on them, and we don't know what they are.
But they just it's not connected to a sighting or a landing or anything.
No, and that's really funny because the whole story, we never said anything like that in the press release. The story, MUFON's going to show up with a flying saucer and aliens. It's like, no, none of that is happening. We don't have any connection of this material to a known crash site or even crash debris. we had the connection is that through the experiencer angle and through the anomalous test results. So that's thanks for helping me clear that up. We don't want people showing up waiting to photograph ET.
Yeah, no, and that's why I asked definitely asked the questions. And when you say that it's anomalous, you had mentioned the alloy composition, probably I'm guessing from the microscopy that they did and stuff like that. But what made it anomalous that MUFON went, hey, let's do something in our labs? Was there something?
Yeah, just that the Russian lab tested it, and although if anybody will tell you about metallurgy, if it's in the periodic table, we can tell what it is. But then when we find combinations that do not match alloy catalogs, then it becomes, well, hey, it might be zinc and barium or whatever. But this combination of these in this percentages are not a known alloy that's cataloged, so we don't know what it is. And metals are probably very similar throughout the universe. So, people that understand elements can understand that alloys and isotopic ratios are things that will identify anomalies. And so that's what we had with this. We know what the materials are as far as metals. We still haven't been able to figure out what the other stuff is yet.
And that actually kind of leads to my next question. One of the things we did when I had analyzed a UFO piece on history was it was considered an aluminum-based alloy, but the alloy itself, so all the elements that were inside of it were recognizable. So we knew what they were, but the actual alloy, as you had alluded to, but for those in the audience who aren't aware, essentially all the manufactured aluminum alloys are cataloged somewhere, so that composition that makes up that alloy can be matched up, whatever it may be. And I remembered with this particular piece that we profiled on history, everything, again, we could see what was in it, all the elements, but we just couldn't match the alloy. Is that the same here, or were there actual elements in there?
No, there's some stuff that we can't identify yet. But they are non-metallic, and there's no elements in this sample that are not on the periodic table. So it's exactly what you said. It's a combination of metals that we can't match to an existing alloy that we've been able to find so far. Although I'm sure we put the internet detectives on it, they'll come up with it in 5 minutes, and then
in like 8 seconds. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'll be hanging upside down on a cross, and people will be burning me.
No, that the silly maliciousness, and maybe now's the time to bring in the visuals of one of the other cases that you're revealing and talk about this.
Sure.
Because you had done an interview about a week ago on a podcast called Vetted, and you had, during the process of doing this interview, had held up a photograph of something that was going to be in your next film.
Sure.
But then again, correct me if I'm wrong, tied to your next film, but also playing a role in the next MUFON symposium as well.
So this all started with MUFON's press release, which you published on Black Vault, which Vetted picked up. And so he starts talking about the press release where we're talking about the conference, and the speculation is already starting to go kind of nuts. And so I reached out to Patrick and said, let me come in here and clear this up. So the next day I went on the show to talk about some of these cases. Now, this image is from one of the cases that we've been investigating for a while. It's not a big secret of a case. The guy's written a book that came out late last year, but it's self-published and very hard to find. So it's still a very obscure case. And the guy doesn't want to go public. But basically, his story to me was his dad flew F-94 jets and was part of a squadron that was supposed to shoot down UFOs if they got too near populated areas, and engaged the reconnaissance aircraft. So he gave me a tranche of stuff, and this is one of the pictures that was in it. Now, this guy hasn't come forward and said, no, this picture is real. And some of the pictures that are in this thing, we're not sure about. We looked at this one and we thought, well, it might be a diorama. I used to build models when I was a kid, so I know what that is. But we couldn't, in our initial reactions, we were still exploring other possibilities and exploring the other images. But I did hold it up and show it. And I did that for a reason. I wanted people to get a look at it. I didn't know how thoroughly people would investigate it, and I didn't know how big it would become. But I'm super grateful to those that did some legwork and helped us to identify some possible points to debunk this picture.
Do you feel, and we'll get into that part here in a moment, but when you were given the photograph, you said that he didn't say it was real, or did he give it to you with the impression that it was a legitimate photograph from his father's time?
He received in a bunch of different mail from another person who supposedly flew in the squadron, um, a bunch of photos and a bunch of documents, some typewritten letters, even a picture of a supposed alien that has a story behind it. So I do believe that he thinks that this is a real image. But I'm, unfortunately right now I'm on the fence. In fact, I'm a little on the other side of the fence.
Did his dad pass it to him?
No, his dad passed away at an early age, and
so he found it.
No, this person that was supposedly in this secret squadron with his father, one of the other pilots, began to contact the family by sending them stuff in the mail and doing that and phone calls, and then he finally agreed to meet them in person and tell them the story, and then he died shortly after. So the some of the story itself we have not been able to debunk. And for all the people out there that want something to go search, here's a couple of tidbits. He first told me that his father was part of a squadron that flew F-94 jets in 1955 out of an airport in Oregon, and that one of their tasks was to escort unidentified craft away from populated areas, and that they were on standing orders that if engaged, to engage these craft. So that's the gist of the story. Now, my investigation so far revealed, which I thought was very surprising, is that because these were state-of-the-art jets at the time, F-94, they were brand new. They were like the second or third generation of military jets. And another thing he told me is that he was told that they shot this UFO down with rockets. And I didn't know that they had rockets on jets. So when I went to research these facts or these parts of his story, we found out that yes, in 1955, there was a civil air defense squadron of F-94 jets, oddly enough, at this airport in Oregon, and that this squadron was dissolved in the middle of the year. And so this corresponds with his story that the F-94 jets, had some kind of thing. Supposedly one was shot down. So anyway, we were able to identify that these jets really were deployed here. And then the other thing that's really weird is rockets on airplanes is a very rare thing. So we found out that the F-94 jets, a couple of variations, had these special rocket tubes hooked on them that would open up in the nose and could shoot unguided rockets. So that corresponded with another part of his story, but that the military gave up on unguided rockets shortly after that and went to guided missiles and blah, blah, blah. But this is one of the few jets that was ever equipped with unguided rockets. And this is the story that he told that was conveyed to him. So as we started to dig, we're finding things that correlate with the story itself. Now, this image obviously is questionable, and we've got a bunch of images. I would love to share the rest of these images with some of the people who helped us investigate this one, but I'm not going to put myself through putting them out on the internet again. So anybody out there that did some actual productive work on helping us to investigate this image, you're welcome to reach out to me at media@mufon.com, and I'll show you some of the other ones. But I'm not going through the I'm not going through the torture I just went through over this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, the story still has validity. I still think there's something to it. I'm definitely in the camp that seriously questions this image at this point, though.
And let's talk about that on why. So what appeared, and if I knew who the original person was that found this, I had credited a couple people that posted it. They're just pseudonyms and no real names, and so again, credit to all of them. I posted it on social media.
Yeah, all of you guys,
original
the people that found this set of military miniatures and made this comparison, you guys had to do a lot of work, and you knew where to look. And I think that's just great. I've never been attached to an outcome about anything that I presented. And when I showed the image, I said, hey, if this gets debunked, we're going to be the first ones to go out and say it. We're not trying to sell a bill of goods here. We're just showing you guys something that we're investigating at this stage of our investigation. So kudos to you guys who found these military miniatures and made the connection. I mean, somebody did a lot of legwork, and I'm very proud of those people.
Now, here is what's whomever, and credit to them on
I'm
whomever
looking
it
over the
is.
camera at my screen so I can see what we're looking at.
Yeah, no worries. So these are the military miniatures, and then this next slide here, so everybody can see what we're talking about. Are these individuals that are on or by the UFO
Sure.
that essentially match up to these miniatures
Yeah.
almost
So let's talk
exact?
about this for just a second. So the image that I have, somebody found another version of the image where the guy on the far right is a little, and sorry, I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking at the image behind it.
No
The
problem.
guy in the far right wasn't really easily visible in the copy I had, so I actually hadn't even noticed him. But the two guys to the one on the far left and the one in the middle sitting in the chair, I had always questioned this because who would bring a chair to a crash site in the middle of nowhere? And then when they found these model kits that they're saying are a match, um, yeah, the two guys in the guy on the left and the guy on the right, that's still a little shaky because it doesn't appear to be an exact match, but they're also model kits made out of pieces and they have variable options for assembly, so they're close, but it wasn't really. But the guy on the far right, who I had not noticed before, and the guy on the far right of this box cover with his arm extended is almost an identical match. And so now we have three extremely similar figures in one shot. It kind of pushes me over the edge of leaning toward this might be what's going on here. You can never say 100%, but I'm not going to try to convince anybody that this isn't the solution.
Yeah, and here's a picture. I don't know if you can see it, Ron,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for the audience, you can see how the model kit is. There are some people online that are arguing, well, it's close. It's not an exact match, though. But
But
you
you
can
can, when you're
actually
assembling the kit, you can change the
exactly.
position of
Yep.
arms. You can put a different hat on the guy. So this seems to indicate that yeah, that's possible. And when even when you're assembling the chair that the guy's sitting in, you could make variations of that. So to me, and everybody, we're having a discussion here. To me, the thing that puts it over the edge for me is the guy right here in the middle that's got he's sitting and he has his arm extended. He's the closest match to any one of the stock images. And when the other two being so similar and him being there, yeah, it's tough to argue.
And for sake of discussion, because you know you're right, this is kind of unfolding in real time, which
It's
is
unfolding in real time. Yeah.
yeah, which is why I'm excited to have you on. And I think for discussion's sake, if I can ask this, just the person that if I have this right, the person that had contacted the son of the father that was in this squadron had
Yes.
given this material over.
Yeah, it had been showing up in their mailbox over years and years. And there's about 50 images. There's some typewritten letters that he had written to the family talking about how the squadron would fly stuff to right. They would capture gun camera footage, and the gun camera story actually connects with this jet. It had color and black and white gun camera possibility. We have another shot that's supposedly the craft being shot down, taken by the gun camera of the jet. It's going to be even harder to tell if it's real or not because it's just doesn't have, nobody built a model, I don't think. But we have a lot of different images.
Could this have been created to model after a real event? And that was why I didn't put out when I had kind of explained this. I was like, I don't have a stance on the image because I knew nothing about it, other than the select few things that you had said on Vetted, and then the internet just kind of takes over, and they fill in the
Yeah, it
blanks,
does.
and it gets a little bit ridiculous. But why I'm saying that, and what intrigued me, was when it came to the Socorro landing during the Project Blue Book era. I
Sure.
believe it was actually a model created by the U.S. Air Force at the time. It wound. I have got a photo of it, but it's a diorama, which is a much cleaner photo than this. But they modeled what had kind of happened out there, and I believe it was done by somebody in Blue Book. Now, don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but I know that a
It's
lot of the
pretty
people that were
interesting.
involved uh, had seen that as well. And after the show, I'll dig it up, send it to you, and I'll post it in the show notes for YouTube as well. I should have planned that ahead, but I just really kind of didn't think of it until as we're talking. So long-winded way of saying, is it far-fetched to think that this is just modeled after potentially an event? Because it sounds like you have more. You said it on Vetted, and now it seems like you've expanded a little bit more here on this show to where it wasn't just this photo, that there were other facts that started matching up to support that
it's true.
something potentially happened. So for
I would
conversation's
say,
sake, is that a possibility?
well, I would say that if there's a track record of military creating dioramas of events, then that's possible. I'm 90% convinced that this is a diorama, that it's not a real shot, just because I'm concurring that these kits of people seem to be a pretty good match. So, but to kind of go further and go, oh, well, it's not a real picture, but maybe it's a picture that somebody made. I'm not interested in putting my feet farther in the fire. If that's the case, fine. I'm not going to go into that level of speculation. But I will say that we've been looking at NICAP records, we've been looking at Blue Book records, and there appears to be an incident that was reported to Blue Book around the same time in the same area of jets encountering a UFO. They don't talk about one of them being shot down, but there is a report. We couldn't find it in NICAP, but we found the Blue Book mention of it. So yeah, I mean, and the other thing that he told me is that his father, a lot of times, I mean, face it, if you're a squadron of jets and you're flying civil air defense, and one of your biggest things is flying saucers, you're going to have a lot of spare time on your hand. And he said that his father would often be tasked to do different things that were made possible because of his clearance. And so, it might be take a picture of a UFO and show it around town and engage public response. He said that was one of the things that they actually did. So this story is very complex. And after what happened when I showed this image, I'm just not super interested in putting out anything that people are going to treat that way. So we'll document it properly in the film. We'll do the best we can. If we find something that's not correct in the evidence that we've been presented, we will point that out. And it is what it is. But yeah, it's a very complicated story, and there's a lot of moving parts to it, and there's a lot of things that seem to corroborate the core of the story, even if some of these visual evidence is questionable.
I think just to kind of play devil's advocate here, I totally understand if you wanted to just dodge what happened in the last week. I mean, people can be vicious. I don't support that.
I'm not dodging it. I'm out here answering for it. If somebody wants to dodge it, they'd be hiding behind their email. They wouldn't be coming on shows like this and saying, "Hey, I don't even understand why we're having a problem over this." So.
No, and maybe I phrased that wrong. I meant I don't blame you for not wanting a lot of the mud slung your way from some of the people that are on the internet, like X and social media that attacks anybody that comes out. But where I wanted to go with that is I think that a lot of people would really understand. I mean, those trolls and stuff, they're here no matter what. It doesn't matter. I'm here to tell you, no matter how you handle anything, there's somebody there to tell you did it wrong, and they're just going to attack you anyway. Those people are not my audience, or at least my intended audience, nor should it be anybody's, but they're going to be there anyway. But what I would say and respectfully urge is that if you came out and said, hey, I'm here to dump this material online for that collective communication, I think it would be well received. Again, trolls are going to come no matter what. But hopefully you might consider that, because there are some people that I've learned.
Well, see, here's the thing. I mean, Wayne's the guy that wrote the book. It's his stuff. He does not want to go public yet, but we were planning on rolling this out. It's really his discretion on if he wants to do that. And frankly, for everybody who doesn't know, most of the images that I have, not all but most, are in his book, and it's called I forgot the name of the book. Ominous. You can buy it on Amazon. He self-publishes it. And so if you want to see the images and you want to hear his story, it is out there. So I don't have to go and dump his stuff on the internet. It's there for anybody to see. And so, you guys can read the book and make up your own minds about.
Did he publish this photo? I thought it was a sketch.
I think I was told the photos from the book. is in the
Okay.
book, but maybe not. Somebody had another version of this photo, and that's another thing that bothered me is I think it was even you. There's a version of this photo out there where you don't see those two big supposed trees sticking up, and so what's up with that?
That one I don't. That one I don't think came from me because I don't recall that one. I did want
Okay.
to ask you about this because this surfaced online. I tried to figure out where it was from, that somebody was selling it, and admittedly, there was a lot of people that glommed onto that people are just trying to profit. Now, this obviously is not your sale, so I want to make sure that's
No, you know
okay.
what? That looks like okay. So where I met Wayne was at the McMinnville UFO conference, and he had a little table, and he had copies of his book, and he was selling pictures of the copies of this picture, and it caught my eye, and I went over to him and I said, "Well, tell me about these pictures," and he started telling me the story, and so we got into the conversation, and he says, "Look, I wrote this book. My family has been burdened by this information for a lot of years, and it was finally chosen that me, as a member of the family, would write the book and start to come forward with the story. I haven't really tried to sell the book. I haven't been out pushing it, but I thought I'd come to this conference and just test the waters." And, I was kind of, after he told me his story, I'm like, well, look, man, out of all the people that you could have run into, I might be able to help you with this. And that's where we met. And that looks like it might have been, he says that he hasn't done a lot of events where he's selling stuff, and that the one in McMinnville this year was one of the first and only ones he did. So that could be very well a picture from his booth at the McMinnville UFO conference. And I think he sent me new images, and I think I think literally the one that's in the frame is literally the one that.
I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second, Ron. I'm sorry. I messed that up. I accidentally.
Oh yeah. So I think that because he sent me some upgraded copies of the image, so I think that one that's actually in that frame in that picture is the very same one that's in my hand, because it has the label on the back, and this says. 1955 photo of a crashed flying saucer shot down by Red Wing pilots F-94 interceptor jets over the Bull of the Woods wilderness near Welcome Lake, located in Central Oregon. Recovery team guards await further assistance of the site. Source of smuggled photo unknown. So that's what it says in the back of this. I think now we pretty much are in agreement that is most likely a recreation at best, but that's what it says on the picture.
Do you feel, because I don't want the internet to go crazy, so forgive this kind of pointed question, but do you feel that he duped either you or anybody? Do you feel he was duped? Or do you feel that maybe we just don't know the provenance of this photo?
Well, look, let's face it, with anything from Majestic 12 moving forward, every single time we've gotten a drop of information, it's been truth surrounded in misinformation, and it's up to us to figure it out. When I met this guy, I was taken aback by his sincerity, his humbleness, his true inner struggle with how to deal with this information and the stuff that was coming around. He was talking about his father and how his father died young, and I have an hour interview with him, and he got very choked up. And I just didn't get the impression from this guy that he's out to do this, out to create this hoax. And honestly, if this whole story is a very elaborate hoax, when you see the collection of stuff that I got, it's a very elaborate hoax. It would have taken years and years and years to engineer. So yeah, if you want, what the heck, if you want, I'll show you a couple of these other images. I'd have to do a screen share.
Which is fine. Yeah, let me.
Yeah. So let's get this here. And again, I want to make sure that I'm being very clear to people. This is what's been presented to me. We're investigating it. I'm not trying to sell a bill of goods to anybody. And frankly, if this whole entire story gets legitimately refuted, that's okay with me. I'm after the truth. I'm not after anything that's not the truth. So.
Yeah, feel free to share your screen and I'll get it up here.
Yeah, bear with me for just a second.
No worries.
I'm just gonna show one more image. That this could very well be the exact, and I invite everybody out there, let's go ahead and take a look at this image and see go to present. All right, so look, here's another image that came in the same tranche.
Okay, bear with me here. I want to get it up for you here. Bear with me. There you go. Okay.
So Michael Schratt looked at this image with me. He says that these little platforms this thing is on is consistent with the kind of platforms that the military would have used at that time to support such a structure. That's what he says. So anyway, there it is. This can be round 2. Let's get you guys working on it. I am not purporting that this is anything. So, don't shoot the messenger. But this is another one of the images in a tranche of, I'll show you again. This is the collection of images so far that are part of this case. And so, and no, I'm not going to share them all right now, but there's more to it. So that's another image. Let's get people to work on it. If you find some little army men that look like those guys or anything else that could debunk that image, then, it's all right with me. I just want the truth.
Well, in 8 seconds, there's going to be a lot of theories that are floating out there right now.
It's all right. Look, you guys go out and you figure it out and you post your results, but keep the nastiness to yourself. All I'm doing is sharing something that I don't have to share, and I'm not trying to tell you that it's anything. I'm sharing it with you so that you can come to your own conclusions. And if you guys come back to me and can make a convincing case to me, which in this previous image somebody did, that it might not be a valid image, I'm down for that. Like I said, I just want the truth. So don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah. Without needing to be said, I mean, yes, please keep it respectful. I am not a fan of that at all by people doing that. So yes, full agreement with me or with you on that from me. My question then is, what's next for you? Obviously, you've got a lot of photos there that you just flashed. Is this something, so the audience understands, is this something that you're researching and this is actually for your next film? Is this something you're researching for a book, something to publish articles publicly? What is the next plan for this particular case?
Well, Accidental Truth Next is the sequel to Accidental Truth, and it's going to have some of these cases in it, and also fresh interviews with Senator Tim Burchett and Ralph Blumenthal, who broke the David Grush story. And it's going to be just as good as the previous movie. And we're starting to explore how this all plays into the nature of reality. So yeah, we're going to touch on these cases in Accidental Truth too. We're revealing a lot about these cases at the MUFON Symposium. And of course, once that gets up on the web, it'll be out there. So we're just disseminating the information. And if this case of the Sturgill case turns out to be overall a legitimate case, which I still think that it may be, it's a big case. And we have an unexplored crash site. We have a map to where this thing supposedly is. And so, at some point, if it continues to bear fruit and we don't get to the point where all of the evidence has been debunked and the story's been completely refuted, we're going to have to go check out that place.
So it sounds like the photo itself, you've pretty much sided with that it's like a diorama of some sort, but the case itself is not.
The case itself, I don't, because there's images in this there's images that came with this case, and the way they were delivered, it would be like an envelope of 3 or 4 pictures mailed to his sister, an envelope, a box of debris. I'm not even going to go into the debris box. Just forget it. But a box of debris mailed to his sister. Another box of photos mailed to his brother, and this all happened shortly after his dad died, and some typewritten letters about this thing that were mailed.
Have you tested if I may ask, the debris at all? Like, is that?
Oh God!
You can't drop the D word and then move on. I mean, you gotta.
Yeah. So I don't even want to talk about that right now. And here's why. We have a picture of a box that was shipped to his family, and we have a picture of the box that was opened. We have a picture of the contents of the box. We have pictures of each individual thing. And then We have a copy of a police report that was filed by the family in the 1990s of the box being stolen out of their car. So I'm not even putting that out right now because it's just like, really? So, no.
Did they get it back, if I
No, they
may
didn't
ask?
get it back, and
So
the
so
material never got tested.
debris is all gone?
Yeah, supposedly. That's why I'm not talking about it, because we need something better. We
Yeah.
need something bigger before I put that out. I mean, now granted, the pictures are interesting, but they're not definitive. And we'll be sharing all this, and some of it's probably in the book. But and it's a genuine police report that somebody filed that the briefcase full of materials was taken. But that is not the story I want to be floating right now. It sounds like, I call it the Jesus syndrome. Jesus is in my backyard. He's walking on water, but I can't share that with you because now's not the time. So it's just avoiding that like the plague. So yeah, there's stuff in this, and the core group of investigators, especially you guys that helped raise questions about that other image, you guys can reach out to me and I'll share this stuff internally among a core group, but I'm not going to spit it out all over the internet. As Lou Elizondo would say, into the wild,
Sure.
based on how horribly it was managed by some people.
If I can ask you this, I would love for you to have an opportunity of questions that I know that some of those troll-like beings are asking out there, but some of it is a little bit legitimate, and that is something that I personally struggle with. Coming from television, I understand the art of the tease. I wrote teases for shows for a decade on various networks. I get it. I totally understand it. My question to you is, where do you draw the line of what you feel compelled as a investigator, as a truth seeker, away from being a filmmaker? This is something I should put out there right now, versus that you're going to hold and not show because you're coming out with either a film or a book or whatever, fill in the blank. And that receives criticism from the public in varying degrees, that you're withholding it and essentially, trying to profit off of it. But I say that as someone who gets it on both sides.
Right. Yeah,
and
let's
that's what I
dispel a bunch
struggle
of that
with.
right now. Every one of us, including the people out there that might have something to say, we have to make a living. We all have to pay our mortgages and support our families. We have to eat. I spent $250,000 of my life savings to make Accidental Truth. It cost me $60,000 plus to pay Matthew Modine to narrate it. I dug deep in my pockets and I took a huge risk to make that film and deliver it to the world. And I had a right to get my money back, just like every one of you has a right to get paid when you go to work. And the way that turned out, a bunch of us filmmakers all got cheated, for lack of a better word, by dealing with the same people that were managing our money. And so I put out that film. I lost pretty much everything I had because I never got paid. And what am I doing now? I'm continuing to do work in the field, and I'm making another movie that I have no idea if I'm going to make money off of or not. So at the end of the day, it's not there's nothing Hollywood in my films. Accidental Truth was a delivery of facts. Nobody has come up and debunked anything that was in that film. There was never any hype. There was never any tease. There was never anything except what people call one of the best UFO documentaries of all time. And I made that, and I made zero money making it. In fact, I'm still trying to recover my money. And what am I doing? I'm moving forward with more because the information is important. So if somebody spends $50,000 to investigate something, what is it about this community that thinks I should spend that money and then I owe it to you or anybody else to just disseminate that and never have any way to recoup my investment? For one thing, it makes it so I can't keep doing it because we have to have a way to fund this work. And for another thing, how many of you would go out and put in hundreds of hours a month of your own time for no money and be okay with that? Because that's what you're saying to people like me, that we have some obligation to do that, but you wouldn't do it. And so, it really annoys me. The MUFON's putting on their symposium. It costs a ton of money to put that on. Every UFO symposium on the planet charges money for people to attend. The nice hotels, the conference rooms that cost thousands of dollars, the live stream that uses technology that costs tens of thousands of dollars to deploy. And then all of a sudden, oh, how dare they charge money? The people that are criticizing anybody for trying to find ways to monetize this work are the very same people who probably don't even know what it's like to donate to a charity. And frankly, it's ridiculous. How many of you would go and do your jobs for free because some stranger told you you owed that to them? Probably none. So
No, and I appreciate that. Now, again, I wanted you to have the opportunity to say your side, because
it's aggravating. And well, are we putting a lot of really good information in Accidental Truth next? Absolutely. Is it going to be as in integrity as the original Accidental Truth? Absolutely. Are people going to need to rent it for $4.99 if they want to see it the day it goes out the gate? Yeah, you are. And eventually it'll be free. You could watch Accidental Truth on Tubi right now for free. You could watch it on YouTube Movies for free. You know, the idea that I owe to the world, that I'm going to go work my entire life so that I can make something, and that you guys all have the right, that I have some obligation to put it out there and for free. At some point, we all run out of the ability to do these things. Yeah. And so the mentality that I had a guy come over to my house when Accidental Truth first came out, and he comes over to my house and he sees a movie poster on the wall and he says, "Man, that's a great movie." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Where'd you see it? Amazon, Apple?" He goes, "No, I got it on a BitTorrent." I threw the guy out of my house. And you know what? I would do it again. I literally escorted him off my property because he stole food off my plate and he took away from my ability to make another film. Any money that I ever get from Accidental Truth will go into making the next one and the next one and the next one. And I don't know any of us filmmakers that are sitting there on our islands with our private jets because we're doing this work. Most of us gave up career options that would have paid us a lot more money to do this work. And so the idea that we owe anybody the fruits of our labor for free, I just say to every single one of you out there, do you give away the fruits of your labor for free? Do you show up at your job and it's okay if you don't get a paycheck? Because we're doing this for a living and we all have to eat. And so I think it's very unfair. And yeah.
Yeah, I maintain my membership to the Producers Guild. I'm not a fan of piracy whatsoever, so I don't blame you for that. I'm a little bit over the time, and I want to respect your day, but I do want to ask you one other thing, if you can expand on it. You had released a statement, which I'm going to post in the YouTube notes below if you're watching.
Sure.
You can also check out my social media. I've got Ron's full statement on the photograph and so on. We've touched on a lot of the statement.
We have.
But one thing that I did want to ask you about, if you can expand on it, is, and I'll read just this one sentence: as for trying to make money off of a film, most of your favorite UFO filmmakers, including myself, Dr. Stephen Greer, James Fox, Darcy Weir, Carolyn Corey, and more, were all deprived of our royalties last year by people we trusted. It's not the first time I've heard that, and it always makes me cringe when I hear stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are you able to give just a little bit of?
I can. We have to be careful because there's lawsuits going around and everything else. But what I'm about to share is public knowledge. The company that bought 1091 Distribution also bought Redbox at the very same time by agreeing to take over $300 million plus of their debt, and immediately ran into financial problems, being unable to meet those. And so as of April of about 2023, numerous filmmakers, it could be dozens, it could be hundreds, but it was definitely all of us in the UFO field, we stopped getting money for our films. And they just took the money and we don't know what they did with it, but they didn't give it to us. I personally never got any money, not a dime of royalties. James Fox filed a lawsuit alleging that they still owed him $800,000. Stephen Greer has an active lawsuit alleging somewhere around in the million range as well. Carolyn Corey and Darcy Weir, they're not owed as much money, but they're making noise. And it's coming out that the president of the company, William Rahuna Jr., has done questionable financial things in the past. And the idea that maybe he took on these companies with the intention of bankrupting them out is being floated in the media. There's an article in Variety. There's an article about his past financial misdeeds. But suffice it to say that millions of dollars are owed to all of us. And and we're struggling. We've all had to hire lawyers. We're struggling with, what happens when you're expecting to get a $200,000 paycheck so you can pay all your credit cards that you used to finish making the film. You can pay back the loans you had to take from investors, and you can't do it because these guys are literally to your face sending you letters. Oh, sorry, we're having cash flow problems right now. We can't pay you. It's happened to every one of us. And what better way to silence the UFO community of filmmakers than to bankrupt us all? So, all these people out there that want to talk about how we're all doing this for the money. If you had any idea what we're going through right now, you wouldn't be saying that. I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
And I appreciate that extra information because from a personal experience myself, and this was also in the trades. The Hollywood Reporter had written this up. I fell victim to the same exact thing in Hollywood. It's one of the reasons why I don't really produce that much anymore and started my own business completely away from television production, completely away from anything related to the Black Vault, because it wasn't $1 million, but it was thousands. And it was Bellum Entertainment who did a show called Unsealed, which I did seasons.
Oh, I remember that show. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a lot of fun to do. We had a great time. And I did a pilot for them on top of it, was on camera, behind camera, and thousands of dollars. And sadly, they went bankrupt and we all got screwed out of the money. So I appreciate you fielding that question, because I think it's important for people to understand what people that work in entertainment go through, and it's no fun, whether it's about UFO related programs or not. I'm here to tell you.
We really want to be able to speak out about it more, but here's what happened. I mean, the people that are making these decisions within this corporation, from what I understand, it's mostly this guy Bill Rahuna that's calling the shots. But when Stephen Greer didn't get paid, and again, this is all public, when Stephen Greer didn't get paid, he sent out a tweet and he sent out an email naming names and linking to articles about the misdeeds of this company. And when he filed his lawsuit trying to get his money, which is still an active lawsuit, they're dragging it through the courts in the most egregious way. And this is all public again. When he filed his lawsuit, they countersued him for tweeting. Defamation of character and libel and blah, blah, blah. So the guy's just trying to get his money. He's trying to call attention to some really bad people, in my opinion, doing some really bad things. And if you dare approach them through the court system, they're going to countersue you and tie you up for years and make you spend additional money that you probably stand a good chance of never getting paid. Yeah. So James Fox had to actually abandon his lawsuit because he couldn't afford to continue to pay his lawyer. So he walked away from the $800K. And there's been several lawsuits that have been filed by other filmmakers. And they're just that once you get to the point where you're doing the lawsuit, it just drags through the court system. And
they bank on that.
You're never going to get anything. It could be years.
Yeah, and they bank on that because you'll give up, or you can't afford to get to that level to get your money back. For me, it was a dollar amount small enough to not even try, and plus I knew the writing was on the wall; they were going to go bankrupt. But regardless, I totally sympathize with it. And
for all those people that want to sit here and go, "Oh yeah, Ron's just trying to make money," if you knew what I've been through over the last year. I just had to put my mom in a nursing home yesterday because I couldn't take care of her here at my house anymore because she needs round the clock care now. And I could really use that money. And so for all these people that are sitting here calling me a grifter and all these other things because I'm making quality products and I'm putting them out there, shame on you. Absolutely. Shame on you. You do not know. And you have no right to say those kinds of things.
Well, Ron, first, my best to your mom. I do hope that she's okay. And I can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your day and fielding the questions. I know it's a hot topic with a range of reactions out there.
Yeah. And, I just put out another image. So I'm preparing a part of my body that hasn't been burned at the stake yet for whatever's coming next.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen. I think, again, people are going to accept that you're looking for feedback. You're stating that openly here. And anybody who throws the mud, they're going to do it regardless of how you handle yourself. So don't take it
personally. We all just need to get together and get to the truth. It's divide and conquer. The UFO community shouldn't be eating its young. We have a very big, deep, dark, elaborate organization of people that are keeping the biggest secret in the history of humanity from all of us, and it would change the entire world. So if you want to express anger, express it at them. If you want to go after somebody, find out who some of these guys are and attack them. Because right now, you know, as much as we try to deny it, we're at war for the truth. We're at war for the truth that will change the destiny of humanity. And it's a horrible situation to be in. It's bad that people have taken this information and kept us from it over the years. It's bad that we have to fight so hard to get the truth. It's bad that we're still not getting it. And nobody needs to be attacking me because I'm trying to make a living, and nobody needs to be attacking anybody else because they're trying to come forward with a story. We need to be getting to the truth, and we need to focus our energy on the people that are keeping it from us instead of this venomous attack on each other.
That's well said, and a great point to close on. Ron, thank you so much. If you can, again, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do so?
After that, I don't know. Maybe I should give you
Yeah,
guys
that's a weird timing to ask that, I guess. For the nice people out there that want to contact you.
Yeah, you can reach me at
respectful
ronjamescontact@gmail.com. It's ronjamescontact@gmail.com. A lot of the things that I said today are me personally. I'm not speaking for MUFON. It's not my job as their media relations director to make official statements that are combined with my own personal feelings and beliefs. But yeah, and anybody that's out there that had a hand in investigating these images, I want to know who you are, because you can help with some other stuff too. So there's some guys out there, and gals probably, that did some amazing work. And if I wore a hat, it would be off to you.
Well, very good. Well, hopefully they will reach out to you. Hopefully this will obviously reach quite a few people, and it will get to those people as well. But Ron, thank you again for taking the time. I hope you'll come back when there's more to talk about with that case, the stuff.
Anytime there's something that's controversial that is out there, you know, even if I'm not in the middle of it, which I like it when I'm not, I'm very plugged into what's happening in Washington. I talk to Congressman Burchett. I talk to other members of Congress. I have open lines with a lot of people, and I know a lot of things that are happening. So when there's something in the news and you want to go a little deeper than what's front facing to the public, I can help with that.
Very good. Well, I do hope you come back. And thankfully, I'm never involved in controversy. So from my end, you know, that never happens. But I do look forward to talking to you again. And thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
John, thanks for having me on. I hope I wasn't too frank, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, there's a lot of things that need to be said, and I hope I said some of them.
Absolutely. No, and not at all. And I do look forward to having you back. So thanks again.
Awesome.
And thank you all for listening and/or watching. This is John Greenewald Jr. signing off, and we'll see you next time.